Okay, so in this clip, we're going to have some fun with varying the poses that we have here. But before we do that, there's a couple things I want to point out that we can do with this that you'll want to be aware of. One of the very useful tools that Maya has for animation is the ability to mute different channels. Okay, and to mute various attributes. And what that means is they just don't update. They're still animated. They still keep their keyframes, but they just don't update. Like, for example, if I grab my COG and I say, hey, you know, these two channels here, translate Y and rotate X, are really, and I'm just holding down the Shift key and clicking on those, actually holding down the Command key and clicking on both of those to select them. If I hold down Shift, I'll select all of these, which I don't want. So Command key will click on that. Command click. There we go. Both of these have a lot of effect on the walk. Well, what happens if I get rid of them? What happens if I hide them for a while? What happens if I mute them? Okay, and that's the command, is to mute selected. And I was just using it. There it is, mute selected. All right, these channels turn brown. So what does that do? Well, that means he's no longer going up and down. Now, what's interesting about this is sometimes it can reveal a little bit of some pathologies, like in the rotations of the spine areas. Do you see how the spine is kind of rotating a little bit more than probably what we might like? All right, so what's happening is it's rotating here, but not so much here. Okay, it's going here, but not so much here. All right, so what do we do about that? Well, there's a couple things we can do about that. We can go here and say, all right, I'm going to grab the spine controllers, and I'm going to say, okay, this is all rotate X is the channel. Well, I'm going to a quick way to see if this will work is to grab rotate X, middle mouse drag to its opposite pose, and then key selected. Okay, and what that does is now we should have the same key pose, the same action as we have in frame 15 as we have here. Now we are getting a little bit of lockout, but that's because this channel here, these two channels, are muted. So I'm going to unmute those. Okay, and we go back to what we had before, and now we should actually smooth that. The walk should be smoothed out a little bit, although we are getting a little bit of head motion. And the reason for that is, this time now I'll mute the spine. I'll just grab the spine and mute our rotates. I'll just mutate the whole thing. I'll just mute the whole thing. We'll mute all three of these and see what we get. Okay, now, see what's happening now is we're seeing that in our COG we've got a little bit of over rotation. We've got the rotation here, but not here. Okay, so what do we do about that? Well, you can, it depends. We can take this and grab our rotation and rotate X. Here it's 0, whereas here it is, we got 8.3. Do we want that? Well, let's try it. Let's see. Grab here, middle mouse back to here, and key it. Because remember, rotate X is rotating forward. It's not rotating side to side. So we should now have the same basic motion. There we go. All right, so let's go bring this back. Bring up the spine and unmute our spine controls. And we'll unmute our, well, we don't need to. All right, and so by doing so, we've smoothed things out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play around with our with some of these poses. Now, one thing I do want to point out is you want to save often, because you may get something that you really like and you may get something that's really awful. I'm going to start with my impact poses. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab my COG and I'm going to move it way far down. And of course, when you do that, you also have to grab your pole vector and make sure that it's kind of out of the way. All right, way far down. He's going to come all the way down like so. And when we do that, I'm going to grab my COG, and that's my translate Y. Middle mouse drag to frame 15 and key it. Okay, I'm also going to want to look, there's my knee controller is not so bad on this side, but I will pull it out. And so now what we've got is this. He's got a bounce in his walk. Okay, just by moving the COG down, now he's got a real bounce in his walk. All right, so let's continue with this. Go to the passing pose. So we can do the same here by raising up. Now, to raise it up, the problem we're going to have raising it up is the arm controllers are going to need to come with. So I'm going to grab both arm controllers and the COG. If the arm controllers don't, they're going to lock out the IK. That's why we want to bring them all. And I'm going to bring this all the way to the edge of locking out my leg. You can try locking it out and see if it works. It may give you something better than what you had before. I don't know. All right, so now it's going to go up. And like I said before, I've got my translate Y. I'll middle mouse drag this to 18 and key it. Okay. So now it's got that bounce going, really going. All right, let's not stop there, folks. Let's continue on and let's go to frame 8, which is the passing pose. Excuse me, the extension pose. Select all. Actually, frame 9 is our extension pose. All right, so what are we going to do here? All right, so we went up like so, and then we're coming down like this. What happens if we grab our arms and lift up on them? Grab the COG and go all the way back. Grab the spine. Do the same thing here. Grab the head. And again, I'm doing this in one axis only pretty much. So it should be easy to translate these. So I'll grab the spine, I'll grab the COG, and I'll grab the head. Then I'll take it's going to be rotate X, middle mouse drag to 21, key rotate X, grab my arm controllers, and that's going to be the translate Y. So we'll key that, and let's see what we get. Whoops, I think the arm controllers were a mistake. So let me undo that. And like I said, this can go way too far. All right, so there's that. Let's go over to here. All right, so it's going to go there. We'll lift this up. All right, let's see what we have. Okay, so now you can see that you have a bounce walk. And if we take this to our perspective view and see what we have, you can see that with a couple of variations in posing and in rotations, we have a walk that is much more bouncy and kind of almost a strut. Again, it's very possible to take this too far, and the point of this particular clip is not to actually make do a new walk cycle, but rather the point is to make it to see what variations you can come up with. Okay, so what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to wind up saving this as a variation on 08, and that we actually won't use moving forward, but it is kind of fun to go back and see it. So what we're going to do in our next, here we've changed the poses. What we're going to do in our next clip is we're going to change the timing and see what we can come up with. See what changing the timing both overall and within the cycle itself, what that's going to do to our walk.